So, Periscope, Trovo, Facebook, DLive, and will YouTube connect? Yes. What's up, everybody? I am James Hake. This is the Hake Report. It is 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Standard Time, and it's Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. And as of noon Eastern Time, which was a couple of minutes ago, effective noon, is it supposed to be, is it showing me right now on the side, or is it just a mistake? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh. Fixed. Side view Hake. Side view on Hake. As of noon, sound was in a tunnel, but now the sound should be fine. Sound is right. Press 1 if the sound is right. Press 2 if the sound is terrible. But Joel says that's his bad. It's fine. Okay, much better. Thank you, Willie. Yeah, I was picking up the side view camera mic. Trump's stress is over, and we are in a world of dog something, says Anderson Moffat too. Interesting. Yeah, so Joe Biden is now your president, is what they tell me. And I believe them, right? I do. We are going to be talking about all that. How would you grade Trump? How would you grade the president? How would you grade the... Are you going to watch the inauguration? I hear that there are many artists who are going, including Garth Brooks, who says it's not political. It's not a political statement. Remember all those people who were, like, harassed and boycotted for agreeing to do the presidential inauguration 4 years ago? On 2017, January 20th, 2017. That was a great inauguration, President Trump. And I think that we are okay calling President Trump, because you can still call President Obama, President Obama. So that's nice, right? I will be taking your calls, 888-775-3773. This Biden administration is going to be against an imaginary thing called racism. So watch out, people. And also going to be against sexism. I touched on that in Hake News. Many decent people are and will continue to be under attack big time. So stay cool. Keep it cool. Very nice. I have some revolver reports on Biden's appointees. Some of the so-called news outlets are calling it historic because Biden has a vice president who is a piece of work called Kamala Harris, who is part Indian, part Jamaican, and you could call her American. The first black person who is vice president, the first Asian person who is vice president, because India is Asia, and the first woman who is vice president. Interesting. And so all that and your calls, but let's get on with, and you can also call in if you like about Trump's pardons or lack of pardons in certain cases. Let's get on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, you guys know about how they always talk about you're on the wrong side of history. What does that mean? I guess that means you're on the wrong side of the people who write the history, right? Write the history books. They say, oh, I should be calling it her story, right? Her story. Thank you, Nick, for the correction. They talk about, there is a saying that says the victors write the history books. Well, it's actually the people who invade the liberal profession of historianism who write the history books, am I right? Not necessarily the victors. The victors, I don't know. I guess they eventually have their way, right? The propagandists. But that's not the right side, necessarily. The right side is what's right. It's not about history. That's basically, you're not part of the future. You're not on the side of what's coming, is what they're trying to say. But will history treat President Trump's presidency well? How would you grade President Trump's presidency? Like on a scale of 1 to 10? I don't know. I am grateful for President Trump's presidency. Very nice. And I'm interested to see what's coming. It's going to be interesting. We already got a taste of Joe Biden during the Obama administration because Joe Biden was Obama's VP. And Joe Biden sat back and just enjoyed Obama bringing Black Lives Matter and Al Sharpton to the White House. And Joe Biden sat back and enjoyed the threats and violations of the Second Amendment, threats to the Second Amendment, saying, you don't need a this or that. You don't need an AR-15. Just get your shotgun, fire 2 shots in the air, and that'll run off the home invaders, right? Which I think that's an illegal thing to do. But it was something that he suggested during the Obama administration. And people pretended like, oh, we can't impeach President Obama for all of his scandals, of which there were many. He claimed there were none. He claimed that they were all fake scandals, which is what we say about Trump's supposed scandals, right? They were all fake. Super Dave says, JLP's Job's Bible story needs an animation. It was so good. Yeah. I agree. That was a very nice monologue in the 3rd hour of the Jesse Lee Peterson show today. But they were pretending that we can't impeach President Obama. We would get Joe Biden next, and that would be worse. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it will be. How long do you think Joe Biden will last? I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he will last. He has that that sort of a female spirit. They say that his greatest leadership quality is empathy. Empathy, which is a false imitation of love, right? That's a liberal word, empathy. And they pretended that Trump doesn't have empathy. Trump is a quite compassionate guy. You know, President Trump, I think he's been quite consistent throughout the years. If you think back to how President Trump was in the 80s and 90s, he was always loving the blacks and being all nice to the blacks. In some cases, maybe too nice. Didn't he get some NAACP awards and rubbing elbows with Jesse Jackson and liking and defending Mike Tyson amid the fake rape charges? I presume they're fake. Wasn't he always that way? And he always had a nice relationship with Kanye West. And even before Kanye really strongly, at least publicly, came out in favor of President Trump refrained from denouncing Kanye, even though many conservatives did not like Kanye West because he said, George Bush doesn't like black people. And he said it on like a live stream dealing with some live celebrity fundraiser for the Hurricane Katrina so-called victims, the blacks who were in New Orleans during the Hurricane Katrina in the early 2000s at that time. And then he went and said, I'm going to let you finish. He interrupted the acceptance of the award that white woman who's turned on whites and Christians and everybody. Taylor Swift, thank you, Nick. You're on it today. Taylor Swift got some award for a Grammy. she writes catchy music. So she got a Grammy or something like that. And Kanye walked up on stage and took the mic from her, said, "I'm going to let you finish, but he said Beyonce deserved the award, who's black, supposedly, right? French black. Is she Creole? I think she's Creole. She claims. And Beyonce should have gotten the award and not Taylor Swift. So, and Obama turned on Kanye at that point. He said he was a A-word. He was an A-word, or a jack A. Can you say that? I guess it's kind of like saying donkey, right? A jackass. I don't feel right saying that. Asmodor says, I have an urge to read the Bible, but I hate to leave Hake. Yeah, the Job story was very nice by JLP. Beyond Z, correction from Super Dave, Beyond Z. Was she already married at that point to Jay-Z? And she turned into a piece of work. Beyonce. Ugh. And if you can imagine it, Jay-Z got even worse too. What a mess. Don't ever cuss again, Hake. And Brandon asks, have you told Maze about Holly? I don't know. I think that Maze might have been listening. But President Trump, in his final pardons while in office that we know of, and I'm pretty sure that they are indeed the final pardons. According to Revolver News, Trump bizarrely pardons 2 rappers and corrupt former Detroit mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. Yikes. But Trump has always loved the blacks, right? So I think that it's kind of consistent of him. And I'm saying love kind of loosely. I don't know if it's the right kind of love necessarily. That's according to Revolver and Reuters. And he did not pardon himself, nor members of his family, nor the lawyer Rudy Giuliani. What are they charged with? I don't know. Are they even charged at this point? I don't know. Tony from California, who makes stuff up all the time on the JLP show and on the Hake Report, says, oh, New York is coming after Trump. And I wouldn't doubt it. They want to punish President Trump and anybody who ever supported him, if they can. Because they're full of hate. He did pardon Steve Bannon, formerly of Breitbart.com. He was I think he was kind of leading the Trump campaign in 2016, a key advisor in the 2016 run, charged last year with swindling the president's own supporters, and this is according to Reuters, so take it with a grain of salt, over an effort to raise private funds to build the president's wall meaning America's wall, let's be honest, right? Reuters is very anti-Trump and anti-American. On the U.S.-Mexico border, he did plead not guilty, but he's been pardoned. Steve Bannon, has been an important leader in the conservative movement and is known for his political acumen, said the White House in a statement. And that black former mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick of Detroit, was serving a 28-year prison term on corruption charges. Yikes. Serious stuff. And isn't that so common? John Cardillo, who has been a pretty vocal, sort of a Trump supporter guy, he tweeted, Trump granted clemency to a rapper named Kodak Black. And I have a picture of this. He said, who depicted the choking of a Trump supporter in one of his music rap videos. Wow. What was the context of that, I wonder? And isn't that kind of a common scene, actually? Trump supporters being attacked. That's from a few years ago, I guess. His song called Tunnel Vision, I presume. Kodak Black. Real name is Bill. Not to be confused with our Bill, definitely. Bill K. Capri, 23-year-old black guy who'd made a false statement on a federal document. What type of false statement? I don't know. I didn't look into it. He also pardoned Lil Wayne, who was seen recently. He tweeted out a picture of himself with President Trump. I don't have that picture, but 38-year-old black rapper, been around for, I don't know, I've known about him for about 20 years, more than 20 years. Recently took a picture with Trump. He had a weapon possession charge, and he was already a convicted felon, and felons, somehow they make it so that felons don't get their Second Amendment. I don't know when that happened. I heard from a reliable source. There he is. Is that is that his real thumbs up? Lil Wayne with his face all marked up with tattoos, and President Trump, and that's the real President Trump, I think. That's not a cardboard, I don't think. They're smiling together with their thumbs up. And I think that was during the Trump's, Trump worked during his presidency to help the blacks with opportunity type stuff. And get out of jail, a second chance, the First Step Act. I think some people who came out of jail from this thing, and he was working with Tim Scott, this black rhino senator from, I think, South Carolina or North Carolina or somewhere. I think somebody got out of jail, according to Tucker Carlson of Fox News, and ended up killing somebody, I think. That's what I heard. And more than just one crime like that took place. It's crazy. So it might have been a little too lenient on the blacks. But, I heard people making the case for this guy should get a pardon because wouldn't get a fair trial because he was seen as supporting Trump. Lil Wayne. President Trump did not pardon Julian Assange, who was he is the founder and head of WikiLeaks. I don't know if he's still directing WikiLeaks from jail. I guess he's in jail or something. Has he been extradited here to America? Julian Assange and WikiLeaks exposed stuff with, there was a guy who turned transgender years ago who was in the military. And then he wasn't transgender at the time that he did this, at least not that we knew of. Bradley Manning. He exposed how there was some air raid and it killed civilians by Americans over in the Middle East somewhere, I believe. And there was other stuff going on. He leaked stuff to WikiLeaks. And then later, WikiLeaks leaked out stuff that exposed the DNC, the Democrat National Committee. This was during the 2015, 2016, I guess, presidential campaign, Hillary versus Trump. And it showed how the Democrat National Committee was colluding with the mainstream media to give the shaft to that more, he calls himself independent, but he's a socialist, democratic socialist, Bernie Sanders, to help cheat and let Bernie Sanders lose to Hillary Clinton by various means, media and Democrat collusion, and all kinds of weird stuff coming out of the Democrats. And he exposed the government too, corruption. So he was hated by the government. Never mind what they do to us, but when we do it to them, we the people are, in his case, he's a foreigner, right? Julian Assange. When he did something to them, they come down hard on it. It's kind of like these Capitol protesters. You would do it to local police all you want, Black Lives Matter and Antifa. But if you do it to the Capitol and threaten or strike fear into the hearts of the people in Congress and make, who's that woman who cried? You make Democrat female senators cry, you're going to get come down hard on. What a mess. Talking about the Capitol Hill rioters. Tammy Duckworth, yeah. She acted like she was crying after the Capitol Hill siege, the insurrection. Black Lives Matter and Antifa insurrecting 4 years straight, or really more, 7 years straight, 6, 7, 8 years straight. They do it all they want because they're black and they're fighting racism. They're for America, even though they want no USA at all. And President Trump did not pardon Edward Snowden of NSA. He was working, I believe, in the National Security Administration, something like that. And then he came out and talked to a guy from either Guardian or Glenn Greenwald or something. Intercept? I don't know. And said, the NSA, the U.S. government, spies on Americans without even their knowledge or consent or the approval of courts or anything. Spies on us. There have been people who will dox love interests. People who work in the government. Deep staters, if you will, right? Who will, let's find out about this person or that person. And they'll do it. Total abuse of power. And you've seen that happen too with Twitter employees. They banned Trump temporarily at one point a year or two ago. Facebook employees, Google employees, all these people. Trump did not pardon Edward Snowden, who exposed the government spying on Americans. And he did not pardon Ross Ulbricht, who was an Eagle Scout as a young man, I guess. And then he became a hacker who started this black market, what is it called? Darknet marketplace, online marketplace that he called Silk Road, on which people bought and sold stuff undetected, right? Which, of course, came to include illegal drugs. Was that his intention? I don't know. Did he know it would happen? Probably. He was pretty smart. I heard somebody say that guy tried to get an imaginary fake person killed who was actually an FBI agent multiple times. I heard that guy, Ross Ulbricht, tried to do that. Was he for freedom in some way? I guess so. There are a lot of these guys, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and Ross Ulbricht. My impression of them is that they're liberal leaning. They never really necessarily came out in support of President Trump. Assange did help he did help Trump get into office, I think you could say, because he exposed some of the corruption of Hillary, the Democrats, and the media. I think he just didn't want Hillary to get in. But I think of these as liberal guys. Did they come out in support of Trump? Did he have any duty to them? I don't know. There's a lot of Trump supporters who are really mad about this. They think he's a coward. Are they Trump supporters? I don't know. But they acted like they supported Trump. Some of them probably did vote for Trump. They call President Trump a coward for not doing that. And yet he pardoned this rapper who did a video in which a Trump supporter is depicted getting choked out. Honestly, I don't really have a big opinion. I think Trump is a boomer, and he's always been a New York Times reader from his youth, and he's been a mainstream sort of a guy, and yet an independent thinker. I think what's happened with a lot of the Trump supporters is that, let's say, the white nationalist types who support Trump, there were a few, right? There were maybe many who were into the white thing. They took some of the things that President Trump said as indications that he would be this super pro-white guy. There was Richard Spencer's, because Trump at one point, I think he supported universal health care and things like that. But he's a boomer. He doesn't necessarily mean the things in the way that you're thinking that he's meaning them. And so they said, oh, he turned on us. He changed. I don't think that President Trump really changed much. Or he said one thing and did another. That's kind of life. That's how things happen. It's not necessarily a mark of a lack of integrity. Because oftentimes you say something that you want to happen, and then by many different means you're prevented from doing it. Falling Down says it was cowardly. Kodak Black and Lil Wayne? Really? Should have pardoned them. Would have been a huge kick in where it counts to the swamp. That's interesting. I kind of agree. I would have liked to see that. Him pardon Assange, maybe Snowden. I don't know much about this Ulbricht guy. This is kind of the first time I've looked into him at all. But I kind of appreciate his wanting for freedom for the people. I appreciate that. I can sympathize with the libertarian types and some of the liberals. And these guys who are really passionate about Assange and all that. Trump is not into this. He's not a willing anti-establishment guy. He's a boomer who saw how evil the establishment is. But he's never been into this libertarian thing or he's not like one of the young people who were always suspicious of the government, you know? You know what I mean? He's not into these things like you guys, I mean, some of these guys who are really mad at Trump, calling him an outright coward, total coward. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know. So that's that. I'm glad, I'm happy that President Trump fought this thing to the end and never backed down from saying what he wanted to say about this election and about the mainstream media and about the government in general. Yes, he worked with them and made compromises and stuff. It's kind of what you have to do in order to function at all. But he exposed the media like nobody else. And yes, probably all of you, or many of you, some of you may have been awakened to the evil of the media from Trump's actions and Trump's presence. Actually, a lot of you probably. But many of you already knew it, so it was nothing new what President Trump was saying about the media. But he exposed them in a powerful way. And to this day, he's doing it. But I love that he did not attend this inauguration that's going on right now. I completely disagree with Twitter calling that a glorification of violence or a justification of these violent people. It's so ridiculous. Somebody said, oh, you sound like a Nazi. Everything that you're for is Nazi stuff. Just because the Nazis were right about some things, I heard that they were against abortion and pornography. Doesn't mean that I'm a Nazi. It's ridiculous. I'm American. But people are nuts, and they called Trump a Nazi and Trump a white supremacist. And that's not stopping. It's crazy. It's funny. It's funny because everybody knows that it's ridiculous. Anyway, President Trump said it's been a great honor. I appreciate that. Accomplished a lot. He said promises made, promises kept. Do you agree? You know, some of the whites, and I say the whites because they're some of the ones that I've heard say this, and many others were saying, he didn't even build 1 inch of wall. They were saying this a year or two ago. He's a liar. He didn't have any intention of building the wall. Of course he did. Of course he did. Customs and Border Protection claims that he built 452 miles of wall. How much needed to be built? I don't know. But there was endless fighting by the ACLU, by environmentalist groups, which are liberals who don't support America, by many others, some landowners, and many. And there were problems arising with the building of the wall itself. Like sometimes there's floods and it brings in debris, and that can undermine the structure of the wall down below. So they need to have a grate that lifts up, and under that grate people can crawl through, but those grates need to stay open. All kinds of different things come up. But you deal with the problems as they come. It reminds me of this stuff with regard to hydroxychloroquine in the dealing with the this Wuhan virus, as it might rightly be called, right? Because that's where we're told that it originated. Not a lot of promises kept, says Brandon M. I mostly appreciate the president for his fighting and truthful spirit. When you hear him talk and deal with pressure and controversy and all that, he stands his ground on what he knows is right. So I like that. I really appreciate that about him. That was something that we were starving for. How would you rate him as in terms of the presidents in your lifetime and to your knowledge throughout history? I don't know much about history, so I can't say, but I think he might have been better than Reagan. Reagan is getting a really bad rap from the nationalists today because of the getting rid of no-fault divorce. Was that when he was he a Democrat before? He was a Democrat before, right? Wasn't he governor of California? Was that as a Democrat or a Republican? But I think that he got rid of, no, he brought in no-fault divorce is what I'm hearing, which was not good for America, for men, for women, for children. We need fault divorce, meaning it's somebody's fault. Whose is it? What happened? Why are you trying to get divorced? Because now it's like loosey-goosey, and women are initiating a bunch of these divorces. I hear 80% of divorces initiated by women. I heard that that's what we have Ronald Reagan to thank for that. Was that in his worst days, younger days when he was a liberal? Maybe so. I know he did this amnesty thing, which was supposed to be in exchange for a wall and border security, which never happened. Can you blame him for that? I think you can a little bit, at least a little bit. Kind of being a sucker. Was he a sucker? I don't know. He seemed like some people thought he was nobody's fool. And there's a lot of things that people are going to say about Trump and about the Trump administration that are true, but can you really totally blame? I mean, the buck does stop at Trump, right? Can you blame Trump for them? Take Care Business Bear points out, he cut out a lot of red tape with deregulations. Give it a few months, it'll back up now that Dementia Joe is in there. Sleepy Joe. Yeah. He was really good about cutting the regulations. Those were a major problem that debilitates businesses that start up. And he also brought in this executive order towards the end that, okay, these regulations, you can't be prosecuting every person who breaks these regulations because it's a thicket, it's a confusing thicket to navigate of all these regulations, and some of them carry criminal penalties for violating them. Ridiculous. And the people who are political appointees of the president, meaning they're more accountable to the people, should be making the final decisions on these regulations, as opposed to the ones who are deep staters, right? Bureaucrats, career bureaucrats, who are mostly liberals, who are control freaks, self-important, unfair, unjust-minded people who institute all these things and undermine the will of the people as well as the president who was duly elected, right? in the case of Trump, right? What a mess. So I like that. GOP as much to blame as Trump. Republican Party going 1,000 miles an hour to the diet Democrat Party. This is falling down. Doom Jesus has a doomful prediction about President Biden. It's weird to say President Biden. But I better not say Vice President Biden, otherwise I'll get kicked off of all these platforms sooner than I need to, right? But I like him for not, I like President Trump for not going to the inauguration. Mike Pence did, and honestly, that's to be expected, I think, because Mike Pence is a traditional guy. Traditional meaning following the typical ways of the political establishment. So he was seen at this inauguration thing wearing a mask. Was he wearing 2 masks? Alongside George W. Bush, sleazy George W. Bush, backstabber, rhino, never Trumper, I think. Sleazy Bill Clinton, sleazy Hillary Clinton, and then Joe Biden talking like Michelle Obama, and then Joe Biden talking like he's an honorable man, which he's not. Empathy is a liberal word. It's a female-minded way of being. And that is Joe. Every time he looks at the camera and says, "You at home with an empty seat at the table because this president didn't do enough." What a mess. Anyway, let me get to some calls. 888-775-3773. Atlanta Fried says, only 330 seditious MAGA terrorists watching. What the heck? Let me get to Rick in Hampton, Virginia. Rick, how are you doing? Rick! Rick is not ready.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hey, James, what's going on, man? Sorry I didn't hear you. Come on, man.
Nice.
What do you think about the inauguration, man? You watching it?
I'm taking glances every now and then. They have Fox News here in the thing. Biden says we still have far to go. And then you see Obama there. They're all not social distancing. And it's a mess. The inauguration. 46th president. You see, I think, Lady Gaga there. What a mess.
You know, too?
Yeah.
You know, too?
I am seeing some double masks. Wow.
You gonna watch the COVID-19 mysteriously disappear?
I don't think so. No, that's a way of control. No, you are going to see a lot of the Democrats pretend to be reasonable all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're already seeing it happening, right? The New York governor, I think, Cuomo, and the Chicago mayor, they both opening up some of the businesses again, saying, "Oh, we're going to die if the businesses are going to die if not." And they're already doing, underground parties anyway, so we need to have it on the up and up so we can control things. So they're not going to give up control. So I don't think that this thing is going away. It's only the blaming of the president that's going away, because now the president is Biden, and they're not going to blame Biden for much of anything except to push him more left, more anti-American. Trump, a sore loser, wouldn't even come to the inauguration, and then he says he loves American traditions. No, he loves American traditions. That's why he didn't go, because this is a violation of America.
It's just like you in a boxing match. You in a boxing match, and somebody put cement in their boxing gloves and beat the daylights out you. You're supposed to go and congratulate them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like it just kills me. It's like it's a movie that didn't end right. You know what I mean, James?
No, I mean it hasn't ended. That's what people get confused by, I think. I remember I watched a movie recently when I was sick. I watched I watched this movie. It's one of those Star Wars movies, right? And in this movie, not to spoil it, this is so corny. Obi-Wan Kenobi is this guy who trained this young man named Darth Vader. And Obi-Wan Kenobi is all mad because Darth Vader is evil. He's like, you were supposed to kill the such and such. But he was all upset. But the story wasn't over yet. And later on, Darth Vader does what he was supposed to do. So people are, I think people who are mad, like JLP, Jesse Lee Peterson says, they're playing God. They're acting like they're God, and they're mad about something that they have no business being mad about. They don't know what the true end is. I guess you could say it's an end of a chapter that didn't end that nicely. But
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But
So do you think
that's how the world is an unjust world. Think about it. Satan, Anakin, not Darth Vader, says Esteban. Hey, he's listening. How you? Oh yeah, he's listening because. Anyway.
It's crazy though. Just one of those things. It's like I don't know. It just like man. It's like, Trump got him, it's just like,
right.
It just couldn't come up, like, and it's like, it's almost hard for me to accept it. You know what I mean?
I do. I totally know what you mean. I remember when Obama was reelected, and some people were thinking one-term president, and honestly, Hake explaining Star Wars like no one knows the story. Honestly, I was upset when Obama got reelected. And it's not good to be upset. You do rash things and silly things and alienate friends who you don't need to alienate them, or fake friends, right? So just keep it cool. Keep it cool. Trump is cool. And he's not going to stop. I don't see him stopping fighting for us. It's going to be hard because I don't know where to look to get his take on things. I used to have Twitter notifications on for real Donald Trump, right? But Twitter kicked him off for their, fake rules, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't know what's coming. But you don't have to look to Trump. We have to be... Trump did his part. Let's do our part, which is not what the Capitol guys did who got themselves in trouble. And most of the Capitol guys who were there were totally peaceful, didn't go in any place where they weren't supposed to go. They were decent people. But some people got a little carried away, or a lot carried away. And they're getting the hammer come down hard on them because that's what happens to anybody who's remotely on the side of what's right. That's why the whites are getting it bad, and the men, and the Christians. So...
And what, James, on that same note, man, it seems like I can relate to most blacks.
Come closer to your phone, Rick.
Folks, they don't research anything. They just go off what CNN says, because, CNN just play enough to control you emotionally.
Right.
They don't want, because they count on you not to research anything anyway.
Yeah.
And,
that's true. I think that's the case with this election shenanigans. If people were to look into it for themselves, they would be like, I'd like to see more investigation or prosecution or whatever. But they didn't. Right. They just took what the media was saying and what the judges were saying and what their own imaginations were saying. You heard that guy on JLP, Dimitri from somewhere back east, who's a black guy, who said that the judges rejected it because there was not enough evidence. They looked at the evidence and it was not enough evidence. Well, that may have been true for some of the cases, even though a lawsuit is not an evidentiary hearing necessarily. But a lawsuit can go forward without seeing much evidence at all. But they came up with all kinds of different excuses. And this is well known. And what I had written to Jesse to correct the record was they dismissed it because of a lack of standing for many of the people who were bringing the lawsuits. A supposed lack of standing, a supposed, oh, you filed too late. And when they filed beforehand, oh, you filed too early. So when are you supposed to file these lawsuits? Ridiculous. So I think that there was a lot of, I think in general we have a weak culture, a weak and corrupt culture. It's not necessarily a conspiracy. It's a culture that's gotten weak and corrupt. And you could say it was a conspiracy to corrupt the culture. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's both conspiracy and culture. It's corrupt.
You know, I'm trying to see. I hear a lot of liberals saying, now we're going to have peace. I mean, are y'all aware of their policies, you know? I mean, it just seems like, especially blacks. I mean, you can ask the average black, you know, President Trump donated, you know, a lot of the most money to all your black colleges. They ain't even aware of that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, do you know that President Trump gave you, decrease your standard deduction on your taxes?
Yeah.
Almost like over $12,000.
Yeah. You know what? And even that stuff, I mean, that stuff can be like a spark that may awaken somebody to be like, hey, wait a minute. For example, you'll hear about blacks every now and then. They'll start to wake up a little bit when they see, oh, actually, the Democrats were the party of the KKK and slavery and Jim Crow and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't see that as waking people up for the most part, because you don't really need to research. You just need more truth talk in everyday circles. I was listening to a guy who's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show multiple times in the Fallen State and men's conference and men's forums and things, or open town hall forums put on by Jesse Lee Peterson and Bond. Brandon Tatum, he was talking about Joe Biden is a racist. He's everything that they're calling Trump. But his example of Joe Biden's racism, and I put that in quotes, air quotes, is his speaking at some KKK guy's funeral and honoring him or whatever. But you could just look to how he talks down to blacks and pretends that he'd be on their side and lies about the Charlottesville incident and pretends that Black Lives Matter has any validity. Those are the examples of racism, of hating and looking down on and exploiting dumb blacks who are dumb enough to believe the nonsense that he's spewing, which everybody else is too.
They believe it, man.
Yeah.
Even President Trump pardoned Kwame Kilpatrick. You know who he is, right?
I know that he was the mayor of Detroit at one point.
Yeah, the mayor of Detroit.
And
pardoned him.
Convicted of corruption, 28 years in prison, and he was pardoned, and so he's going to get let out. Wasn't he a Democrat?
Of course he was a Democrat, man.
Yeah.
Then they put him back in jail because he wasn't paying on his monthly bill back to the city of Detroit, to my understanding. I think he would have spent like $15,000 on getting his wife a butt job or something like that.
Oh, that's terrible. You know what? You know what's funny is I'm opening up the White House briefing statement from the press secretary regarding executive grants of clemency, and it's already error 404, which indicates to me that the deep state establishment at the White House already took down the president's work from the whitehouse.gov. And so luckily I saved an archive of it. That's wild.
Wow, they took it out that fast?
Yeah. Unless something else is happening, but it's taken down. I think it's taken down. That's wild.
You know what, James?
Let me screenshot it and show you guys.
I'm sorry, James.
Anyways, go on. Yeah.
Can you recommend some good online news you can watch, like besides mainstream media? Now, I know some. I watch Newsmax. I watch One American News.
Yeah.
Eye Opener by Michael Lewis. And sometimes I watch CRTV News, too. I like their news.
Yeah.
And
well, online, I like Epic Times. I like Right Side Broadcasting. Epic Times has NTD News. And Right Side Broadcasting. Some say Golden State Times. They might be pretty good. I don't know. And as far as watching, the Jesse Lee Peterson show is pretty good. Although he doesn't do as much news because he's busy dealing with like real things, people's lives.
Yeah.
Hake news, not fake
Yep,
news.
I listen to you too, brother. Yes, sir. I got to throw you in the mix too.
Yeah. I'm
And,
going to drag these screenshots into it just to show you guys. It's crazy.
And Epic News.
The Epic
what did you
Times.
get, Jay?
Epic Times.
Oh.
The Epic
Oh,
Times
Epic.
is EPOCH. It looks like Epoch Times. I think the Brits
Oh,
pronounce it Epoch.
Okay.
The epochtimes.com, and then they have various, they actually have a few different YouTube channels. We'll see how long they last.
Yeah, you know how that goes. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you in Hake News, and I got what was that?
Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Oh, okay. Can I find that on YouTube?
Yes. At least for
Okay.
the time being. They got suspended on Twitter yesterday for no obvious reason other than being conservatives and pro-Trump. Right Side Broadcasting Network. RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and that just makes I can't stand, especially CNN. That's now I wonder how Cuomo Primetime gonna be doing now. Oh, Biden's just united the people. Oh, boy, he's gonna have a different tone now.
Yeah, I wonder if the predictions are going to be true about the establishment legacy media taking a dive in their ratings because Trump was good for their ratings because everybody either loved him or hated him. But I don't think most people could care less about Joe Biden or even Kamala Harris. They kind of dislike Kamala Harris, I think. So we'll see what happens.
Wow, man, that's going to be interesting. I'm just looking, I'm looking forward to it because I know taxes are going to go up at least. So I don't expect nothing else. I expect that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and worse, he's going to push a crazy social justice agenda. He's going to go after the whites and anybody who doesn't hate whites enough in their mind.
That's another thing.
You're cutting out, Rick.
Keep blacks, racism in their head. But we got to continue pumping blacks with racism. So we got to social justice. Hey, social justice reform. Say your hind parts out of jail. That's reform.
Yep. I appreciate it, Rick. It's good to hear from you, man.
Hey, you too, James. Keep up the Hake Report.
Thank you, man. Keep your head up.
Love you, brother. Yeah,
right.
I will, man. I found it hard just to see him get inaugurated, so that's a little hard. So, man, just, like you said, deal with it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be new for you. You've seen a whole lot of Democrats get into office, and honestly, rhinos.
Man. Oh, man, Gary, they have destroyed Gary, man. Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
That city is so destroyed, man. They trying to pump businesses into that city, but if the citizens of that city don't do things themselves to start it off with, it's not going to be nothing anyway.
Yeah, completely true. I appreciate it, Rick. Take care, man.
Love y'all. Be good.
All right. It's like a time of, there's a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities. Let me show you this to you. A couple of screenshots here. So I archived this page because I somehow kind of knew that it might not last. They must have completely wiped. Let me see whitehouse.gov. Because it, just earlier it said promises made, promises kept, and it was Trump, and I have that picture, I think. And now it's a picture of Joe Biden. And it's not even 1 o'clock Eastern time. Promises made, promises kept. That's how the president's final day in office, his page looked on whitehouse.gov. And now I'm about to drag in the new screenshot of that, but I have a couple of screenshots of his executive order of clemency. Statement from the press secretary regarding executive grants of clemency issued January 20th, meaning just this morning, or late last night, after midnight last night. January 20th, which is today. Do you see those screenshots? They're, just says screenshot. And it shows the executive order, not the executive order, the statement on the people who were it was like 140, over 140 people. There's a picture of Joe Biden, by the way, in the White House page. Whitehouse.gov now has a picture of him. And there's the statement from the press secretary for Trump regarding executive grants of clemency. And then now that it's afternoon, now it's an error. You go to that same link, that same URL, and it's dead. Wow. No respect. Put it up and taken down the same day. Those were the announcements of Lil Tunechi, Lil Wayne, getting his pardon and various others. Let me get to... Oh. Hang on, Paul in Massachusetts. I'm going to get to you shortly. Next, I will be taking more calls. Trump is heading to the best state. I have some information on this Biden's pick for Department of Defense secretary, the head of the Department of Defense. And he's a black guy, a retired Army general, Lloyd Austin. And he's going to rid our ranks of racists and extremists if and when, I guess, the Senate confirms the presidential appointments. Terrible. So I'll read to you a little bit about that and more coming up. Let me just take this break a little early so I can get right back at the top of the hour to Paul and these stories. Hang tight, guys. I'll be right back for hour 2 of the Hake Report. Hang tight.
There's a break in the system. There's a crack in the seam. Just a little bit of fallout. I'm stuck in a dream. Say what you gonna do now. If you can't let go. 'Cause my mind's always running. From the radio. From the radio. It's true. But I can't stop loving you. It's true. But I can't stop loving you. I've waited a long time just to let you know, for things to start coming, to start feeling the flow. And it's just a situation that I can't ignore. When I wind up running right into the door. But what's a little fallout in the big picture of things? It's just another mindset. It's not letting go of your dream. There's a break in the system. There's a crack in the seam. Just a little bit of fallout. I'm stuck in a dream. Say what you gonna do now. If you can't let go. 'Cause my mind's always running. From the radio. It's true. But I can't stop loving you.
Dan East says, with a super chat on Streamlabs, you know, I'm demonetized on YouTube, streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. Says, love you, man. Hake loyalist. Appreciate that, Dan East. Very nice. It's going to be interesting. So, this is soy in the form of audio, says 531 BOOB. Shout out to Bright Lights. That's called Breaking the System. Courtesy of Bright Lights, also known as John Parfitt, JONPARFITT. Let me get to Paul in Massachusetts. Have people to get to, people to talk to on the phone. Haters. Joel says that's a banger, meaning a cool song. Very nice. Let me get to Paul, a first-time caller in Massachusetts. Wants to talk about the inauguration and China, and of course Julian and Robert and the rest of you guys. Paul, how are you doing?
Hey, Hake with the good hair. What's up, boss?
Not much. How are you?
Oh, well, it's a dark day, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
evil. Evil is celebrating, right?
Yeah, but, like you said, you can't really dwell too much on it. You kind of got to just hope for the best, because right now this guy's like, we have, 1.2 million agents of communist China that's infiltrated all of America, according to a leaked memo.
Wow.
And, yeah. And not only that, but, like, this stuff all happens after, like, $350 million in tariffs placed on China. So it's pretty crazy, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. But we have to be perfect. Don't do anything rash. Stay smart, self-controlled, and alert, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
There are great opportunities that come with this type of thing.
Well, and the thing is, like, I tell people, like, he's had 47 years to do something in office. You really think
Joe
the
Biden.
48th chance, is going to be a charm? Like, crazy.
Yeah. No, he's going to be empowering some of the worst people, so-called empowering them, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you saw as Secretary of Health. That's
Yes, his vice secretary of the health department was a guy who looks like he's trying to be dressing up like a woman, but he's kind of middle-aged and fat and yeah.
it's crazy. And
If you want, you can find us that picture, although I wouldn't mind if you spared us that picture of the transgender health vice secretary or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. What a mess. I guess it's kind of I think when they do stuff like that, it's kind of, they're trying to tempt people to say something that sounds mean so that they can point and say, look, hateful people.
Well, the thing is that they're incompetent because they had, like, when COVID hit, I think Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They deliberately put all the COVID patients with all the elderly. We're
showing a picture of this male to female transgender, I presume, is what we're looking at. And this person was from Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Wow.
It caused a lot of COVID deaths, like Cuomo did in New York, where you put all these. Even a kid knows not to put someone sick next to people that are, like, old, And
right.
that's what they did.
Yep.
So,
very true.
It sucks.
Yep. Yeah, they get away with it because the media is on their side. And the media is on the side of evil. They're on the side of death. The
age of tech oligarchs.
Yeah. The day after President Trump was elected was I believe a Saturday. I think not elected, inaugurated, right? He was inaugurated, I think it was Friday, January 20th, 2017. I could be wrong. I think Saturday the 21st, Women's March, all these pink hats. Oh, knitting pink hats. That's so peaceful. The pink hats represent the woman's part out of which the baby is supposed to come, right? But they support killing the baby.
In person.
That's what that represents. It represents killing the baby. What's that again?
Yeah, I've seen them, like, march around here in Massachusetts, and, like, some of the signs they hold in front of kids with, like, just the most vulgar stuff. You're like, and they say Trump had a mouth. I'm like, nah.
I agree. I totally agree. President Trump has been, How are we supposed to trust that transgender, I think, gal is what it's supposed to be, to keep us safe? Good question.
Tell us how to be healthy. I mean,
that's
basically their job.
2017, though. 2017. So it would have been Thursday, right? It would have been a Thursday, I guess. Back when in Clinton times, he had like this female, I think it was a black female surgeon general. Speaking of vulgarness, who I feel like I was a kid. I mean, in fact, I know I was a kid. Oh, it was a Friday, huh? Maybe it was after a leap year or something like that. I don't know. Interesting. But I think I was a kid, and President Bill Clinton's black female surgeon general, right? Trump had a black male surgeon general who was kind of silly. But this woman, I think, was for boys and men and maybe everybody doing like gross, if you can put up with this euphemism, gross sexual stuff to themselves. Said that that was a good thing to, I think, to avoid teen pregnancies. And I guess that you could say, you could postulate, or whatever you want to call it, that pornography in general is a depopulation tactic, right? Because they pretend, teen pregnancy is the only evil. We're getting rid of teen pregnancy by encouraging the big M, the M word. I like to keep it like extra clean.
Hake is just, God bless our country.
Yes.
God bless 45, and say no to e-thoughts.
Yeah. Good word. Appreciate you, Paul. Thanks, man. Nice call. Let me get to Julian in Nashville, Tennessee. Julian, I think he might be a first-time caller, although I recognize the name, out of Nashville, Tennessee. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing well as well.
Absolutely. Well, good to talk to you again. Yes, I'm a first-time caller on your show. I used to call back in the day on Jesse's show.
Yeah, I remember. You called, I believe that you called either my show or when I was hosting for Jesse on his show. I know that we've talked
once when
recently.
Jesse wasn't there on Jesse's show.
Okay. But you used a different name because I recognized the Julian name. And then I was like, you're not so-and-so. You're Julian.
No, anyway. That wasn't me then. No,
okay, maybe it was some.
Called up, yeah.
It totally could have been somebody else. Because I did end up confusing the guy. Unless you have memory problems.
No, my memory's actually pretty good. I think
okay.
I'm getting older, but the memory's still pretty solid.
Yeah, nice. You're not that old, though, aren't you? About my age or a little older?
No, I'm a little older than you. Yeah.
Okay.
I recently turned 42.
Okay, nice age.
Yeah. It's working for me thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I just pretty general. Like I said, I haven't spoken with you in a minute. I hadn't been busy, so I hadn't got a chance to listen to your show very much.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering how you guys, this response, I know you guys were obviously big Trump fans.
Right.
His behavior, though, and this is not, I'm not a fan of Biden either, but isn't this behavior kind of what you guys have been preaching against for men for like as long as I remember listening to you guys?
No, not at all. I think you're misinterpreting his behavior. I gather that you're misinterpreting his behavior as being petty, angry, beta.
Very much beta. Very, very feminine. Like men don't generally move this way.
In what way has Trump been feminine? You're talking about President Trump, right?
Yes.
Okay.
President Trump, yes. Well, just the behavior in terms of women kind of reminds me of when a woman's dating a man and the man is cheating on her, but she won't realize it and she won't let go. She won't move on.
Oh, okay.
All of this, everything that he's doing now with, that he was previously doing, he finally kind of calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
But even with the transfer of power, he finally came out. He gave a speech, which the speech was actually, it was pretty good. I enjoyed his speech. I thought he did a good job with that speech.
Yeah.
But then to turn around and walk away from the inauguration, first president in 150 years or so to not show up at the transfer of power.
Can you blame him?
It still strikes me very feminine. It strikes me as, well, if it's not me, it's not going to be anybody. Kind of like kids, like when you don't get picked at the playground, let me take my ball and go home then.
Right on. Sometimes that's the thing to do. But it's interesting that you compare him to getting cheated on because, yeah, America and the deep state and the Republican Party and many in his administration cheated on him. And
well,
I think
the analogy is better suited to the perspective of not realizing the truth. Not realizing
the troops?
that man, that country, that party did not want you.
Oh, no, that's not true.
Not being able to walk away. Yeah.
That's not true. But think about how many.
Your man don't want you.
Do you believe that he got 74 to 75 million votes?
Do I believe that Trump got 74 to 75 million?
Yeah.
I don't see why not. It seemed like I know it was a very, very polarized election. I know
Right.
voter turnout was extremely high and specific in a lot of the minority communities. I know a lot of the...
So you believe that number, though, right?
Seers, the millennials, they came out tough. He just did so poorly, and I think...
Wait, how do you figure 74 million is poorly?
Well, no.
You believe that number, though, right? That's my question. You believe that number?
I have no reason to disbelieve that.
Yeah.
Number.
So that means that doesn't mean that the people rejected him. That's a whole lot of people who voted for him.
Well,
And
yeah,
he fought endlessly for voter integrity up until the point that it was time to give up.
If you have 74 million people vote for you and 81 million that do not vote for you, and again, mind you, I don't believe Biden actually earned 81 million votes. What I believe is Trump turned away that many people. He did poorly even with white suburban women. I mean, the millennials, the Generation Zers, he turned so many people off.
Does that reflect bad? Hold on, Julian.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on. Let me
all right.
say real quick.
All right.
I feel like the same way that hatred for Obama got Trump elected, hatred for Trump got Biden elected. Trump was a poor candidate, and Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate, Lord knows. So it wasn't that they were voting necessarily for Trump. They were voting against Clinton. And in this election, it was the same thing. People weren't necessarily voting for Biden. They were voting against Trump.
Right. No, I believe that there's some truth to that. But you talked about suburban white women. Does it reflect badly on Trump or on those suburban white women that they voted against Trump or for Biden?
Well, I think it reflects not necessarily badly on either party. What it reflects to is how he was presenting himself to certain groups of people. There's certain people that the divisiveness doesn't entirely work for.
Or it reflects how the media portrayed him to these people. Because suburban white women are suckers.
You know, like I know,
any suburban white woman who did not vote for Trump or who voted against Trump is a total sucker.
That very well may be the case.
It is the case.
Nobody really listens to actual.
But do you disagree with me, Julian?
Anymore.
Do you disagree with me?
People find their media in many different avenues now. It's not nobody's really watching CNN and Fox anymore.
Julian, can you hear me?
Actually, Fox was the mouthpiece for Trump.
Yeah, they have poor perception. They have very poor perception. Yeah, there are a lot of people who watched Trump's words, and he was totally appropriate, but they saw it as inappropriate because they're blind and hateful people. But do you agree with me that Trump...
Hey, hold on. Let's not do that. I don't know if you remember. I actually happen to be a blind man. So there's nothing wrong with being blind.
There is something wrong with being spiritually blind. They're blind, spiritually blind, hateful people. I wasn't talking about physically blind.
Clear.
But you're spiritually blind, too. You think that Trump was being girly when you're the one being girly and judging him as girly. You sound just like the media.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is, because the media was endlessly calling... Oh, I heard growl. The media was endlessly calling Trump, petty, and, he was just complaining and huffing and fuming, when they're the ones huffing and fuming and complaining about him. They're the ones who are the B words.
What is the B word?
B-I...
Oh, you mean like the female canine? Is that
Yeah, they're the ones who were being girly.
Well,
not him.
And I have to...
Hold on, Julian. Hold on, Julian.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He fought, to repeat myself, he fought appropriately for as long as he could until it was time to give up. And then,
this is what I have to do.
Seeing, he knows more than you do about this election. Let's put it that way. He knows more than you do about this election. And he knows more than you do about Joe Biden and about the people who are being inaugurated into the administration. And can you blame him for not going to the inauguration? I think he did the right thing by not going.
Well, what I can blame him for is purely, again, and this is not speaking towards, this is purely speaking towards his behaviors and what his behaviors represent. Again, I can only look at things through the frame of reference of what I believe is a classy way to move, a important a peaceful and powerful way to move in light of maybe a difficult time. I've had to concede to certain things that I maybe in life didn't want to concede to, but I try to handle myself with a certain level of elegance and, grace to it.
And that's how
There's
Trump has
nothing
been too.
gracious. Well, when? I'm
Endlessly.
sorry.
He's always been that way. Throughout his presidency, he's been that way.
So the rally 2 Wednesdays ago at the state capitol, that was gracious?
Yes. It was perfect.
Perfectly
appropriate.
It also bothered me, and this bothered me to no end. He's such the law and order guy, and he's so for, the importance of the police officers.
Yeah.
The man has still actually not made a public statement regarding the officer that died at the state capitol. Not one. You won't find it on record.
And?
He will not mention that man.
And
he won't mention that man because he feels like that man's blood is on his head.
You're just making stuff up. You're acting like you don't know what you're talking about.
Even if I made
Are you inside President Trump's head, woman?
Even if I made that mistake and I charged those people up to do that, I would feel an importance to that man's family, to that man's legacy, to at least mention him in public. I'm the president of the United States.
You're being silly. You're a total woman, Julian.
I mean, that may be the case.
It is the case.
I would personally, I know if that were my father or my brother, I would feel very much slighted that the president never mentioned what happened to that man in that riot.
You're being ridiculous.
Okay, I mean, I might be.
You're being totally ridiculous.
I'm okay with that. We don't have to call each other names, though, brother. I'm not calling.
I didn't call you a name. I called you ridiculous. That's an adjective.
No, you just called me a woman.
Oh yeah, I did call you a woman because you're acting like a total woman. You said Trump is being feminine. You're being feminine.
Well, let's not be intellectually disingenuous during this conversation. I think
you're the one being intellectually disingenuous. You're pretending to read Trump's mind about it.
No, what I'm actually doing is saying what I think most people in the public, if that were their parent or their sibling or their father, they would appreciate.
Of course, yeah, I'm sure that they would. But it doesn't mean that he has to do it or that he's petty for not doing that.
No,
you're being silly. And it's not even remotely Trump's fault. You're pretending that it was Trump's fault that all that happened.
No, I never said that. I didn't say it was his fault.
You acted like you said that you said that his speech was not perfect.
I don't think anybody's ever given a perfect speech, James.
No, but now you're being disingenuous.
Well, who's ever what? So you said
that was a great speech. Perfect. He was appropriate. He was gracious.
It was. Hold on, it was perfect. Your exact word was perfect.
Yes, perfectly appropriate.
Well, that's how you feel, James, and you're entitled to that opinion.
No, it's not feeling. It's accurate. It was objectively perfectly appropriate.
That's subjective.
No, it's objectively perfectly appropriate.
Objectively perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the measure? What is the meter that we're judging the perfection of a speech on?
You're a blind person. How it's a dumb thing to ask about.
Well, you hear speeches. You don't. I'm not reading it. I'm listening to it. James was blind. That's with it.
No, but you keep on jumping to the physical when I'm talking about spiritually. You're blind. Anyway, man, interesting call.
I couldn't hear what he was saying because I'm spiritually blind.
Yeah, you don't have any comprehension. You're endlessly judging the man.
Okay.
You're endlessly judging the man, and you're a petty person.
Okay. I mean, if that's how you feel, James, it's your opinion.
No, it's the truth.
The First Amendment grants you that freedom of speech to say that, and I'm not upset with you over that. Maybe I'll do some inner reflection and look in the mirror and see if that's the case. But again, I haven't attacked him at all on this conversation.
Yeah, you have.
I really haven't spoken negatively about him. What I said was what I would have liked to have heard.
That's a total lie. You called him being beta. You said that he was acting female, and now you said you haven't attacked him personally at all.
I asked you, doesn't this behavior seem?
You're implying that's what you think. You're being silly, Julian.
I said, doesn't the behavior seem that way? I spoke purely about behaviors. I didn't speak about the man. If you want to play the semantics, the linguistic game with me, James, you got to get a little bit better.
No, you're the one playing games, Julian. I got to run. We'll talk again, man.
All right, brother. Peace.
Later. Yeah. Sure, if you feel that way, is his way to belittle you in the way a woman does in an argument. Yeah. Interesting. Intellectuals. What a mess. Hang up, Hake, says Take Care Business Mayor. Let me get to Robert in Kansas. He wants to give his Trump rating. Robert in Kansas, good to hear from you. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, brother. How are you doing, man?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm doing very good. So I want to first say that I made some predictions on your show. I was wrong concerning Trump and Giuliani.
I remember that, come to think of it. Yeah, you said Giuliani was going to save the day, but he did not.
Well, yeah, I know, and I know you remember Hake, and I guess I think I would say that I would say Trump would save the day, but via Giuliani,
yeah.
And it just didn't happen. I thought that there would be a release of information for the last couple weeks here that would be like a crescendo, where each day it would be more significant than the day before.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen, and the information didn't come out, and Trump didn't do what I thought Trump would do. And they're saying now he could run again in 2024, things like that. And it's just like, well, okay, guys, maybe he can, but that's some time from now. So,
right. Let's stay in the present. Yep.
Yeah, I was already wrong just about that. So I don't want to predict what's going to happen in 4 years from now. So,
right.
But yeah, man.
I appreciate that. I had forgotten. I mean, I had thought about it in between now and the last time that you called, but I had forgotten. I appreciate you coming back on that and saying that it was a wrong prediction. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I was wrong, and usually that's, I'm just normally not. So it was one of those deals where I wanted to say, yeah, I went out there on a limb, and I thought this was going to happen, and it would be this way. And it was just totally incorrect. So I wanted to say that just so, yeah, anyway.
Briefly, real quick, were you a Q person? Just yes or no?
No, Hake, I wasn't really ever a Q guy. I appreciated Q because when I heard about it, they were talking about pedophile rings,
right,
running governments, running national governments, running world governments, and that it was a matter of blackmail. And it used to be that they could get homosexuality or just maybe infidelity on a man, and they could corrupt him.
Yeah.
But then it went, that was like in the 50s, or and then nowadays it has to be like child rape and other forms of blackmail in order to get to certain levels. So. Yeah, I appreciated Q for bringing out that about the elite rings of satanic pedophilia. And so on some level, that is absolutely real. As far as I can tell, Satan rules this world, and he does so by way of money and sex and everything else that he uses, deception in general.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate Q for that. Now, do I know what Q is? Do I know... I did, they were saying a bunch of stuff I knew was true, but then they were also misleading people at the same time, as far as I could tell. So there was a thing for me where I'm like, well, okay, thanks for putting out this initial information and waking a bunch of people up that had never heard this stuff before.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you mislead people and you put out 50% truth and 50% lies.
That's a lot of lies. Yeah.
And I have to believe on some level that there's something else going on here. So I never really jumped into the whole, like, I'm a Q person.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I appreciate anybody who tells any level of truth, right? Like, so I talk about Alex Jones on other radio shows,
right,
and about who he works for. But at the same time, I love Alex Jones because Alex Jones says a bunch of truth.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if you say a bunch of truth, but then you are also, let's say, compromised in this way or that way, at the same time, you still said that truth. So I'm not saying that I hate Q or whatever. I just...
I gotcha.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not... I just... you can hear some anonymous, take on something with a bunch of cryptic messages, but you just have to, take that for what it is, right? Like, it's pretty weird.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, bro. I want to talk about Trump, man.
Yes.
And so the grade that I would give Trump, Hake, and you might disagree with me, but I would give Trump an F for failure.
Yeah.
And and that's I'm pretty hard on the guy. I loved him in 2015, 2016. I loved the guy, and I was on his support. In 2017 is when the Las Vegas shootings happened, and Trump went along with the narrative, and he said that a lone senior citizen committed all this gun crime, just, shootings,
Right.
And then I was like, well, okay, Trump, what are you going to do? And he said, well, I'm going to ban bump stocks, and I'm going to say that we should have red flag laws, and that white supremacy is the problem. And so from then on out, Hake, I've really had a problem with him. 2018, it didn't get any better. 2019, not any better. I mean, it's all this stuff about support the gays,
Right.
Put women on courts, put women overseas in power, support the blacks. The freaking blacks need more support. We should let these criminal blacks out of prison because they're black, right? And so Trump just kept doing all this stupid nonsense. And I'm going to watch my mouth on your show, Hake.
Appreciate it.
But he just kept doing it, man, and everything became. And then in 2019, 2020, he shut down the country. Okay, this homo flag waving, bundle of sticks. He shut down the country. He admitted that COVID was real, and he destroyed small business. He got us wearing masks, stuck in our house, talking about a vaccine is the answer. And so I'm sitting there going, you know what? Go ahead, bring Biden in. Go ahead and bring Biden in. If you want to stick me in my house with a mask on my face, talking about small business is bad, and you should go to Walmart, you should go to the strip club, but not to your church. This guy, Trump, should have done something, man. He should have done something on a level that even if they destroyed him, it would destroy the whole government. Right?
Interesting,
That's
man.
what Trump should have done, and he didn't do it, man. He punked out. He was a beta. And he said, okay, fine, I'll submit to COVID, and I'll act like I got it, and I'll heal, and then I'll say, don't let it dominate you, but wear your mask is patriotic, and you should shut down your business. Dude, man, it's something about him, man, where he could have gone ahead and gone all the way, and maybe they would have killed him, right? They would have killed him like they did JFK, but he didn't even do that. So on some level, I'm like, you know what? You punked up, man. You didn't do it. You didn't go all the way and make it happen where they had to kill you to prove this thing all wrong, and you become a martyr in history forever in America, and you become something that's totally beyond comprehension of the average person, right, in terms of what you do. He didn't do that, and maybe he does something later, right, with Trump TV, Trump media, Trump whatever. Maybe he does something, Hake, and I'm not saying he won't, and I don't want to take anything away from Trump either, because he could do something great, and
Has Trump been anything other than consistent to how he's always been?
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know who Trump is, man. I just know that
because President Trump has always, I don't know if you heard the beginning of my show, but he's always been nice to the blacks from decades ago. He's always been nice to the blacks and nice to the liberal stuff and the gays and all that stuff. He's always been like that. And he's never been for whites being into their whiteness or anything like that. So I don't see him like you see him. And I think that you overreacted because you thought that he was like you. Like you thought that he was into the stuff that you're into. And you thought that he wasn't a mainstream believing boomer guy who does believe in that this COVID thing is, this Wuhan virus is, he said that it's 5 times deadlier than the flu or is what he heard. And so he was taking it seriously. He was fighting against the mask mandates. He was setting an example of not wearing masks when he didn't need to. He was constantly fighting against, at least verbally fighting against the shutdowns of small businesses. I know that you guys wanted a dictator to come in and force local businesses to open up. You really think that he could have done that? I don't believe so. I think he did quite right and was consistent with how he's always been. I think that you overreacted. You got emotionally involved, kind of like what Jesse Lee Peterson said. Keep a little space between you and him so that you don't get overly attached or overly alienated when he does stuff that you disagree with. And some of your criticisms, I agree with. I don't think that it's wise to ban bump stocks. I think it's a silly thing. And denouncing white supremacy is a silly thing because it's a scaremonger. It's a boogeyman. It's a boogeyman that doesn't really exist, although they kind of make it exist by endlessly attacking whites. So I agree with you on some stuff, but you're emotionally overboard.
Okay, Hake. Well, my response would be to you that you have to look at what he actually did compared to what he said. His rhetoric was perfect, especially the first couple years. Like I say, I pushed for him real hard 2014, 2015, 2016. I was a part of the Trump team, okay, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so
I don't doubt that.
I just want to say, I did support him, and I support him all through. The thing is that he didn't build the wall. 400 miles out of 2,000 miles, that's 1/5 of the wall. Human trafficking and drug trafficking goes over a wall every day right now. Okay,
Are you aware of the endless fighting against the wall that took place by the ACLU and every environmentalist?
Hey, man, I'm aware as a veteran that understands command structure of the military that Trump could have put troops on the border from day one. I don't think that you're being fair to the guy. I think that
you're not being realistic because you guys were talking about. Listen,
absolutely realistic. Hey,
listen, Robert, you guys were talking about, he should do an executive order and declare emergency. He did that, and he was still running into endless. He had the whole government against him. Most of the people in the Defense Department hate him.
The government's a bunch of baby killing perverts. Hey, I know he has them against him, but that's the thing is you
have unrealistic expectations of a president.
No, he just didn't do it. He didn't do what he said, Hank. Ultimately,
of course he did what he said.
Failed, man.
He mostly did what he said.
He didn't secure the election either. He could have secured the election.
He cannot single-handedly secure the election. He was endlessly calling out this stuff, and even Bill Barr.
For years, he had years knowing that these people are criminals.
Bill Barr did not prosecute the stuff that he was supposed to prosecute. He didn't like the Insurrection Act.
Bill Barr in place. He put deep state, Bill Barr, Clinton, Bush.
Because that's what he is. He believes in. He has to work with these people. Do you think him appointing such and such independent-minded nationalist person would get approved by the Senate? These guys have to get approved by the Senate. His political appointees.
You're right.
So you have unrealistic attacks on him. And
you put Sessions in. You put Sessions, and he doesn't do anything. You put Barr, he doesn't do anything. I mean, these guys didn't do anything to anybody ever.
Right.
And so at some point, you got to get radical, Hake. At least at the end, you got to be like, okay, they're going to push me out. I mean, what's going to happen to Trump now?
I think you're acting like Julian was acting, where you want to think that he has your mindset of doing something radical, or in Julian's case, the caller before you, of reaching out and apologizing to the family of the officer, Capitol Police officer who was killed, or making a public statement, when those things would not necessarily be effective like you're thinking that they would be. And Trump doesn't have your mind. He doesn't know what you're thinking, and you don't know what his situation is. I think you guys are jumping to conclusions.
Well, I know.
But I do accept the F, and I accept the some of the criticism for sure.
Okay. Well, yeah, man. I appreciate you for accepting my call and having me on your show. I just want to say that.
How would you rate Reagan?
Reagan. The thing about Reagan is, I was a child, so I don't really know. I was like a little tiny baby.
I know, but you know history a little.
I think that Reagan, just like JFK, but JFK was different, obviously. I think Reagan was doing the right thing, and then somebody shot him, because he was doing the right thing. And then the deep state, came into his hospital room and like, hey, Mr. Reagan, we're going to shoot you and the rest of your family if you don't do what we tell you to do from here on out. You understand me, boy? We just shot you now, and we're going to shoot you again. And I think there's a thing about that where they will just eventually kill you.
Right.
And I think that what I was calling for Trump to do in his old age is to make that what actually happens, where
Wow.
he goes all the way to the limit where they're just like, you know what, we're going to have to kill you because you won't back down.
So yeah, I got you. I appreciate that, man. Is it an F plus? Is it like 50% or 55% or what?
Okay, here's the thing, man. I said
How would you rate him? What president has done what he's supposed to do? Is there any president who gets a higher grade that you know of?
Well, Washington, Jackson, those presidents are who they are, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Reagan, I would give, what's an F? What's up from an F? You'd be like a D or a C. I'd give him maybe that.
Wow.
And the only reason I grade Trump so hard is that because he knows so much, and we know so much, or at least those that do.
All right.
And so that's the thing is Reagan came out of Hollywood. Trump comes out of Hollywood. Maybe these people are controlled opposition. Maybe they are these things that we can't even imagine.
And then JFK. JFK, A, B, C, D, E, F.
Well, anyone who gives their life, just like
Or
Lincoln,
I for incomplete.
Well, I hate Lincoln, okay? I hate Lincoln. I think Lincoln destroyed America.
No, I'm not talking about Lincoln. I said I
know, but
for incomplete.
If you give your life, I don't care. Some people tell me JFK was a faggot. I have no idea. But
Don't say that word on my show.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you give your life for the country, Lincoln, Kennedy, whoever, if you give your life for the country, if you're killed by the deep state, by the bankers, in the end, I absolve you of almost everything. I don't care what you do or who you are.
Interesting.
And so I think that's what happened to JFK. He tried to issue Executive Order 11110 to bring us back to the silver standard, and they killed him for it. He wouldn't go along with Vietnam and hating Germany forever because they were Nazis, which just means someone who's pro-life. And so that's the thing, man. They killed Lincoln. They killed Kennedy for lots of reasons. And to give these guys a grade, Trump. I love Trump, by the way, Hake. So I don't want to.
You voted for him, right?
I voted for him twice, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So both times, and I love Trump in the ways that I do, but man, the last 3 years, bro, he eventually just became a vaccine salesman in the end.
Right.
And
but he's a boomer. I mean, that's to be expected. To me.
Yeah, man, you're just selling vaccines and saying that there's a virus and everyone's fine and all the small businesses closed and
we'll talk more, Robert. Man, I appreciate it. I know that you're disappointed, and I love the call. We'll talk again, man.
All right, Hake, I love you, brother. Do not marry that woman that says that she found you. You go find some 20-year-old Mennonite Amish, okay? You go find something. Make sure she has a good daddy, and that's who you marry. You kick her out like you're picking out a steak on the hoof, okay? And then you go find her daddy.
That's
and
funny.
If her daddy is a good guy, you can always work within the family, So that's how you get married, Hake. Don't be marrying some woman chasing you all over from wherever to California. All right, brother.
I appreciate the advice, man. Take care. That was funny. When I was on the phone with Holly yesterday, DNYG said, "This is so cringe." And then Proc Zero said, "Don't listen to her, Hake. She wants to destroy you. Make her pay on the first date, Hake," said Peter R. Funny stuff. Little Caesars sticks, said Hail Odin Sire. And Buddy Van Cigarette says, "Pizza is amazing." Well, that was funny. DNYG, and I know who you are, man. Lin Yan Chin said, "She sounds adorable, pretty and cute, but slightly demented. At least give her a hug, Hake." That's funny. Let me get to Justice in Las Vegas, Nevada. I didn't get to her earlier this week. Justice, how are you doing?
No woman is good, but I'm well. How are you, Hake?
I'm fine as well. Thank you.
Dude, I just had some nice landscapers are here right now. Like, right when you're about to pick up, I had to tell everybody, stop, please. Like, there's my dog's about to bark. My assistant just got here. It's about to get crazy, but I'm trying to shut it all down. And
nice.
I am dying to talk to you. I don't know how much time we have here. and if you're willing, but I've got just a slew of topics here to get through real quick, and
we'll get to what we can get to. Go for it.
Right. Curious. Okay. So, just as a
you
joke,
wanted to
just as a
talk
side
about
note,
Trump gulags, leaked video regarding Trump gulags?
Well, yeah, and also the Lieutenant General Major thing that, the video that leaked. I don't know if it's a leak or if they put it out there. Okay. All right. I guess we'll start with the big stuff. Okay. All right. I've got a couple of post-it notes.
Just
here,
at least one or two, because I have a lot of calls to get to, and I
all right.
kept Robert on a bit long. Anyway.
Okay.
Go for it.
Sorry. Okay. So basically, yeah, there was a little video leaked by Project Veritas, and it had Michael Beller, whom is the principal counsel of PBS, and a journalist off of, Project Veritas basically got him on camera talking about, as soon as the Biden administration's in, we're just going to basically arrest, round up Trump supporters and take their children and put them in these re-education camps. I mean,
okay.
They could have been doing it to
I heard something like that.
Bad or dumb or whatever. But I mean, he seems very serious, and they've been catching him saying stuff like this all over the place. And like I said, PBS, they get their money from the government. They're funded straight. It's in the name. But anyway, that's their main counsel. Also,
it's wild.
They also, Project Veritas, had proved that lady, Raquel Rodriguez, she at least was, taking in 8,000, 10,000 fake ballots. And I mean, there's proof all over the place. I'm in Nevada right now. Just the numbers are incredible. How many I followed. You can't discuss this sort of thing. You can't discuss politics with people unless they sat up for 24 hours or at least 16 hours and watched every single state come in and then kept in touch with why did they stop counting for this time? Look, it just shot up, incredibly at this time. And people, I don't know, they're just believing what they're hearing on the MSM. And this other video I wanted to mention, like I said, I don't know if it was leaked. I'm pretty aware, it looked like he was pretty aware he was being filmed. It was, I believe if you search YouTube, it was in January 8th, I think. It was, his name is Lieutenant General Major, I got Lieutenant General here, but it says Major General Thomas McInerney, and it's, McInerney.
Uh-huh.
But he's like third in rank of the Air Force for many, many years. He's been in the Air Force from, I don't know, something like 1960 to 1995 or something like that. But he's got an impeccable record from what I can tell. And he's in the White House and he's talking to a lot of other people, and he's just basically going on about how COVID was a biological weapon, released. And he's standing in the White House talking about this stuff. If this is all legit and everything, we need to look more into it for sure. Yeah. But he was just talking about how Antifa came in and they did their thing on January 6th, and how the media just bought it because of, Rupert and Sons, what's his name, Murdoch Rupert, he put his son James in charge of Fox.
And they're liberals.
Yeah, so liberal. Yep. James is Vice and all these super liberal, publications. Yeah, they say that his dad Rupert is, Fox. The Fox guy is more conservative or whatever. But who knows these days? Yeah. But basically, this general was just talking about how Antifa did their thing. The media ran it. McConnell, betrayed. Schumer betrayed. Pelosi betrayed. He wasn't too keen on, Pence, which I wasn't either. But I'm not as close to this as these kind of people, so I'm just trying to figure it all out. Yeah. But here's the thing: he started going into how he said there was this program called, and I hope I don't have anybody show up at my door or anything. I try to keep a low profile, but I'm definitely a nerd that has to know everything politically, and I dig, and I promise you, I'm on all kinds of sites.
Remind me of Ann Coulter.
Don't even make it to. Yeah. Really? Anyway, so he said that basically Comey, this was his allegation to this general, I'll give you his name again if you want, but that Comey had stole a program called Hammer and Scorecard to the Chinese, and how as soon as he found out about it, the next day he went on a Steve Bannon program, the general or lieutenant general, And he was talking about, he skipped over the 7 contested states, which I know up and down, and maybe another call is to not take too much time. But, like, I watched those 7 states come in and what changed and when it changed. And unless people are following the stuff like this, you can't even talk to them. Like, they don't know what they're talking about.
I think you're right about
and
that.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. Yeah, if you have kids or you're working too much or this or that or the other thing, like, you know, it takes a certain person that's able to do it and that has the kind of brain to dig and dig and dig and dig.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like trying to get at it real quick. I'm not trying to talk like Maze or anything. I'm doing my best to get through.
Are you watching chat? Somebody compared you to the white Maze. They're all, Lord, slow down.
Well, here it is. Like you said, like, you know, you got to get going. I'm glancing at the clock. There's not that much time. And there's just so many topics here that are huge. And so, you know, rewind, take some notes, and then, you know, start touring it. Don't Google it. But anyway, okay, so basically he was saying that Kyle tried to slow it down a bit. That Comey was selling this program called Hammer and Scorecard, which was interfering with the voter scorecards, which I think it's funny how they say they couldn't be hacked because they don't even access the internet. And then if anyone saw it, they actually hacked it in real time.
Yeah,
like,
they're plugged into laptops that are accessing the internet.
Yeah.
Is what I've heard.
It's bullcrap. Yeah. So basically he's saying that this program gets into the voting machines and they change them ever so slightly as to have, you know, the candidate win just by a certain amount or whatever have you. And then, you know, he started getting into it like, yeah.
Which, of course, I disavow. This can't be real. Has to be fake news. But go on.
Okay. All right. Do what you got to do. But, so he was essentially saying, you know, how all of this is very, very scary and how none of it's been heard in courtrooms and all this sort of stuff. And that how, you know, it's basically democratic socialism just opens the door to communism. And,
right.
With all the censoring of the, you know, the POTUS and like Twitter and Facebook and the blatant, you know, Parler and along those lines, I've got a couple of notes here about, you know, there are, sorry. There are ways to avoid this stuff. You know, it takes a while, it takes some devotion, but you can use, you know, things like Tor. And I heard people asking for some news sites. You know, there's Breitbart, there's the Corbett Report, in addition to, like, a lot of the things that you mentioned. There's a lot more things out there. Maybe get on the chance a little bit and, just, you know, check out what you can. And as far as Jack Dorsey and all that kind of stuff, I just thought it pertinent to point out. A lot of people have been pointing out this week that you know, Twitter bought Signal, and Signal's a product of Whisper Systems. Just saying. So
Whisper Systems.
I heard about something to look into. I don't want to get into it so much.
All right.
But and then last couple things here. So I don't know how PocketNet works. I just heard about it recently. It's basically supposed to be like a decentralized, you know, social network or Parler or this or that or whatever. I don't even mess with that stuff. But, you know, if you want to talk,
you lost me.
It's good. What do you mean?
I didn't understand what you just said just now. You said Pocket?
Okay. PocketNet is a new company out. Okay. And it's supposed to be a decentralized social media platform, like for anybody that it won't get shut down. It cannot get shut down. Nobody's going to be censored. So I haven't looked into it enough, but it seems like worth looking into, and it's on the blockchain, and you know.
So do you have peace, justice with everything that's going on? Yeah.
I have peace, but I have to devote a certain amount of my life to knowing as much as I can. I won't go past a certain point. I won't make myself crazy or anything, but you know, I have a unique kind of life where I'm able to spend some time doing the things I care about, you know, here and there. And this is what I care about. This is my world. And you know, I'm 41, and I started, you know, listening to quote unquote conspiracy theories maybe when I was 13 or 15 or something like that. And it's been a long time. I've seen a lot, you know, as far as like that gentleman was just talking about Vegas. Right. I just, you know, I don't want to say anything too specific, but, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of like anytime a major event happens like that in the U.S., if you go back a couple of days or a week back, even on Craigslist or here or there, you can see advertisements for day workers, for crisis actors to like do the drills, the events. Like there was Event 201 before we got coronavirus. I think that's the number. And I think if you look up Event 202, it's kind of people trying to fight against that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're...
Above all else, I think, because people don't have to know everything that's going on. People mainly have to be right. Because all this stuff is overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, but you know, you have to know as much as you can know without it making you crazy, and then you have
I don't
to
think
say,
that's
like,
necessarily
what can I do
true.
about it?
I don't think you have to. I don't know if you have to know as much as you can know without making you crazy. Because what can you do about most of this stuff? Nothing. But you can see through people just by being able to, like, as the Bible says, and I don't know if this is what the Bible means by it, just like test the spirits. You know what I mean? Joel says, is this what you're referring to when you say I rebuke? Or was that, okay, he's rebuking somebody else. Because I know that Joel is not intellectual. I don't think he is. And Jesse Peterson, he's not intellectual, and he doesn't know a lot of stuff. And I don't think, I know that Trump maybe knows a lot more, but they don't necessarily pour into everything, and yet they're powerful for what's right. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't be looking into this stuff, but it's overwhelming even listening to you rattle this all off. There's a simpler way to go about it. But I appreciate you, Justice. It's nice to hear from you.
Right.
And thank you for the tips.
All right. Yeah, I had more, but you're good.
Thank you. Take care. We'll talk again.
I think you should try to take the time to learn what you can until it makes you uncomfortable, and then you got to take a couple of days for yourself or do what you got to do. But you're saying, what can I do about it? Like Jesse Peterson talks about all the time. Yes, you can get involved. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you can do that. Like, you know, start taking ownership and initiative. And I have plans, and I, you know, I'm not too comfortable being on film or anything, but I think it wouldn't hurt if I took a few minutes a day here and there to just, you know, put a little political information out there so that for the people that don't have time to dig like this, you know, it's just
compile it for the people. With
or whatever.
A few sources or whatever. That's cool.
For sure. All right.
What would you grade? What would you grade Trump? A, B, C, D, E, F, or out of 1 to 10?
What would I grade Trump? Out of 1 to 10. A, B, C, D, E, F. Good question. I think I would, considering all that's been happening and what he's tried to do and everything, I'd probably give him an A.
All right.
Probably give him an A. You know, maybe an A- or something. So,
yeah. Fair enough.
A couple things I didn't like. We don't have time to get into them, but you know, he's done so much more. Like him or don't, this or that. He's done so much more than so many people have in my lifetime. I've been paying attention to politics since I was a teenager, and man, did he get a lot done with people constantly trying to sue him, impeach him, stop him, block him. You know,
Very true.
So, yeah, you got to give him props. All right.
Nice, Justice. Take care. We'll talk again.
You too. Thanks, man.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Eddie in Kentucky, a first-time caller. Eddie, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fine as well. Thank you.
I know we're getting close to the top of the hour. I will be brief. Disappointed that Trump didn't win.
Yeah.
Obviously. Second of all, as more were elected into Congress and Senate and not having a majority, what could Trump have done?
It's a good question.
A really tough year. Very tough year for Trump. Now he still has the opportunity to come back in 4 years.
Maybe.
I think, you know, hopefully. You never know. But in the meantime, we need to elect the right people in Congress and Senate that they can be there to support him when we do have Trump or a right person coming back in that can actually get something done and get something passed, because Trump was running into so many roadblocks and people were afraid to vote for him or vote for whatever his agenda was. So I think we just need to focus on getting people to help whatever president comes in 4 years or 8 years.
And local government, because the local governments are getting more and more and more corrupt, and families and our own lives. We need to deal with the corruption from the small to the big, and not necessarily. I did see that there are some. By the way, I saw that Claston Bernard is running for Congress over there out of Louisiana. Claston Bernard has been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show before, a couple of times at least, and he's been to the men's conferences. He's an Olympian, a Jamaican guy who came to America, became a citizen here, and he's a decent Christian man running for office for Congress. But people can get involved on the local level and kind of bring a light back to some of our cities that are just a mess, and the homes and stuff. But yes.
Yeah, I do agree with that, because the way Trump ran it, he didn't want Washington to run each state. He wanted the local people,
right,
the local government, to run what was going on, what businesses are open, instead of,
I agree.
being a dictator.
That's why I don't blame him for the. That's why I don't blame him for letting the shutdowns happen, because that's what respect for the local control is. The local people, many of the local people in these liberal cities, they kind of know that it's ridiculous, but they still go along with it. And some of them say, oh, it doesn't go far enough, and let them suffer. They need their own wake-up call. You can't force freedom on people. We've done enough of that.
I know. All right, I'll let you go.
Thank you, Eddie. Good to hear from you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Pete in Alabama. Let me just try to get at least one more call in. More people are Ian and Joe. What's up, Pete?
Hey, man. I wanted to say that it's crazy how people are thinking, Trump is their savior. Like he's going to wave his magic hands over, an entire swamp and burn out the methane.
Yeah.
That's not possible.
Right. But, and then, what's his name? Robert wanted Trump to sacrifice his young life. His young life at, what is he, 74? He still has, I don't know, he has so much energy. I don't think it's meant for Trump to die for this at this time.
He's just like burned out. He shines, like God's light shine through him onto, 75 million Americans that actually voted for him. They say whatever about Biden, but Biden's people assuming that is real. They're the people who want abortion and, homosexuality and all the stuff that, destroys God's creation. But us Trump supporters, we know the truth, and there's been an entire generation of young men, I'm 20, but people younger than me that are growing up, and they're seeing, like, how cool it is just to make fun of what makes people emotionally frail or whatever.
Right.
I think, these are supposedly his last days in office, but even Trump's going out with a bang. Because I thought it was weird how he said, Sleepy Joe, when Sniffy Joe is obviously so much better. But then when he brought Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, along, it's like... That's
funny. I hadn't made that connection.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. But, I'm glad that more and more people are getting a taste of the attacks on freedom, because when it was just the white so-called nationalists and people who were getting shut down, many of us said that's wrong. We need freedom of speech in this country, but not enough. And when you allow more and more people to suffer, as many mainstream so-called conservatives and Trump supporters and people are getting shut down, including the president himself, that is more of a wake-up call to more people. So it's kind of seeing evil unmasked is a great opportunity for awakening people to, as long as they don't overreact, they can be, I'm not an accelerationist, but it's a great, like, let God be the one doing it, right? Or let God be the one in control doing it, not you trying to manipulate so that something crazy happens. But
absolutely, man. It's all about whose house you're in 2021. And, God's got blackjack.
I appreciate it, Pete. I'm over time, but we'll talk again. You've called before, haven't you? Or no?
Yes, I called 2 days ago.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear from you again, Pete. What do you
All right,
grade
you-
Trump? A, B, C, D, or F? I said E last time. There's no E.
Man, I'd put him up there on the A++ with
Wow.
with like Hannibal or Caesar Augustus. I think that he has his chance now to make that legendary tier.
Wow. All right. Well, I appreciate it, Pete. We'll talk again. Take care, man.
All right.
All right.
God bless.
You as well. Joe from Phoenix, Arizona, and Ian from Martinez, California, and the rest of the callers. They wanted to talk about the inauguration. Joe, of course, says that Trump did not fight for election integrity. Very interesting, man. I hope you're able to call back later this week, tomorrow, or whenever you can, and elaborate on that. But this has been the Hake Report. Happy day, everybody. Be, as the Bible says, consider it pure joy whenever you go through trials of many kinds. And for most of us, this is not even really a trial except in your imagination. All right, guys, thehakereport.com for my stuff. Hey, by the way, I forgot to mention all day, 4 p.m. my time, Bond Rebuilding the Man YouTube channel premiere of a Sunday service throwback episode. A Sunday service throwback from 2010. Make sure you check it out. You can go to rebuildingtheman.com/church, rebuildingtheman.com/church, and either watch or podcast that throwback service from Church with Jesse Lee Peterson 10 years ago, almost 11. All right, guys, take care.